In this video, we'll look at the fastest 3 ways to level every single skill in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I've included chapters so you can skip around, and links are in the description to any data used in this video. Before we get into each skill, let's talk about all the ways we can increase our XP gain through boosts. There are 11 perks that can give a boost to XP gain or give raw XP for certain actions. Martin's Heritage increases Sword, Craftsmanship, and Survival by 10%. Radzig's Heritage increases Heavy Weapons, Marksmanship, and Scholarship by 10%. Be aware you can only take one of these, but not both. Balanced Diet increases Vitality gain by 10%. Jack of all Trades gives a 100% boost to XP for speech when you successfully win a chat check. Wonders of Beasts grants 20% more XP for Horsemanship and Houndmaster. Wonders of Man grants 20% more XP for Craftsmanship and Thievery. And Wonders of Nature grants 20% more XP for Survival and Alchemy. No Pain, No Gain gives 15% more XP for Strength, Agility, and Vitality, but only for unarmed combat. Hustler gives Stealth and Thievery for selling stolen gear. Keen Eye gives Craftsmanship for repairing gear with vendors. And finally, Leg Day gives 2 XP each time we bend over to pick up herbs. And finally, the Henry Tier Fox Potion grants 50% XP to all skills for 2 days after you drink it. In order to qualify for making these potions, we need to have our alchemy skill to level 16 and take the perk Secret of Secrets. But if your main goal is to level up as fast as possible, this is a must-have. Check my potion crafting guide, link in the description, if you're not sure how to make the Fox Potion. Up first, Strength. This stat governs how much damage our melee attacks do, increases our carry capacity, makes it possible to use stronger ranged weapons, and easier to move around in heavy armor. There are over a dozen ways to earn Strength XP, but these 3 are the fastest. Getting the killing blow or knocking out any person or animal grants around 14 XP, and since people fight back, it's much faster to slaughter sheep or cows instead. Much like KCD1, chickens don't count though. The second way is archery competitions, which grant a ton of XP, anywhere from 29 for the lowest skill competitions up to 91 for the expert competitions. The best part is you get XP even when you lose. The best bow to win an archery competition with is the weakest one you can find, since the rate of fire is faster on these beginner bows. Do not use your best bows for archery competitions. And finally, the best way to gain Strength XP is by whacking around while overburdened with your overburden meter at 100% capacity. This circle shows how much overburden you are, and you want this to be completely full because a 60-second walk while below the max only grants 48 XP, while 60-second walk at max or above will grant 108 XP, more than double. You can either steal a merchant's inventory or collect bandit gear to stock up on heavier items. You can also collect herbs and brew potions to stock up on weight. Next, we have Agility. This stat governs how much stamina is used up when attacking with melee weapons, how fast our melee and ranged attacks are, our movement speed, how much fall damage we take, and how effectively we are at dodging in combat. Similar to Strength, we can level up Agility through combat and archery competitions. I recommend killing cows and sheep for the fastest combat route, which gives 14 XP per kill, while archery competitions is best done with the lowest power bow you have for faster shooting speeds, and gives around 30 for the lowest level up to 90 for the highest level archery competition. We can also level up Agility quickly by dodging in combat. The fastest method I've found is to fight a single enemy. We need to be unarmed, and the enemy should have a short sword. Walk into the enemy to force them to attack, then dodge to the side and repeat. Each dodge will net us 10 XP, and we can force an enemy to attack once every 2 to 3 seconds, sometimes even faster if you're going against a higher level enemy. And the final method of leveling up Agility is by sneaking around enemies. This is the same method we'll see later for leveling up Stealth. We need to be within a certain radius of the enemy and sneak around without being detected. We'll start gaining Agility at roughly 100 to 120 XP per minute for doing this. Vitality determines how much stamina reserve we'll have as well as how fast it regenerates. It also governs how much rest we need, so higher Vitality means we need less sleep. Vitality is similar to Strength and Agility in that getting kills on people or animals will level it up, roughly 11 XP per kill. However, Strength and Agility also get a tiny amount of XP for each hit that we land, while Vitality does not, which can lead to Vitality leveling slower if you don't make up for it in other ways. Aside from combat, another great way to level up Vitality is through jumping and fence vaulting. We get 1.5 XP for each time that we vault or jump. So while you may look like an idiot, jumping around instead of walking can be a great passive way to level up Vitality. You can supercharge this by vaulting over a corner fence. It takes a bit of practice, but by vaulting back and forth in a figure 8 path, you can get upwards of 33 vaults per minute or nearly 50 XP. But if you're looking for the fastest way to level vitality, walking around while overburdened is still the king. Much like we talked about in the strength section, be sure to get your overburden meter up to 100% and just walk around. At max overburdened, you'll be earning 108 XP per minute, but less than half of that number if you're only slightly overburdened. Up next, the dreaded stat of them all, speech. This one is the hardest to level in the game, but it governs our chances of passing chat checks and getting better deals when haggling. A quick note on the data collection for speech. The numbers for XP gain were all over the place, and the only logical explanation I could think of for this is our XP gain scales relative to our opponent's speech level. At the start of the game, we can get a significant amount of XP for passing a speech check, close to 20 XP per instance. But with a nearly maxed out speech character, that number drops to 1 to 2 XP per chat check. It also seems to scale based on the difficulty of the chat check you're trying to pass, so an easy pass would net much less than a hard pass. Since I wasn't able to find a reasonable farming method for speech, let's go over some best practices for leveling up that you should try to utilize for your whole run. Talk to as many people as possible and exhaust all of their white collar dialogue. You get 1 to 2 XP per each of these options. When you have the option to try for a chat check, always attempt it, even if you're going to fail. You get about half as much XP for failing compared to passing the chat check, and you'll usually get some reputation loss, but the speech XP is too valuable to pass up. Every time you enter combat, use both one battle cry and one taunt. The first time we do a battle cry, we get 5 XP, and the first taunt, we get 2 XP, but after that, it drops to 1 to 0 XP, with seemingly no cooldown period for this. So shout once per combat, and then move on. When selling or buying items, haggle as much as you can without failing. I usually price around halfway down for the first stage, then exactly at their counter offer or slightly below on the second stage. This will net you 25 XP for the first time you do this in the early stage of the game, and a bit less each time after that. And finally, read every single piece of literature that you can, as the speech XP is great for doing this. Most books will give at least 16 XP, with some giving upwards of 45. If you have a pair of spectacles, put them on before reading, as it does give a tiny boost to speech XP. But just be aware, it doesn't do anything for your scholarship XP. The alchemy skill allows us to make more and more mistakes while still making a high quality potion, although I don't really find this skill to be that important. As I mentioned before, the perks are the most important thing here. Getting to level 16 quickly so we can make the Henry tier potion is of utmost importance. We get XP by crafting potions, and the XP amount is tied only to the quality level of the potion and nothing else. The XP is the same regardless of which potions we brew, so it's best to craft the potions with the quickest brewing time. I'll use marigold decoction for this example since it's the easiest to make right after leaving the pillory from the tutorial, but you can look at the potions database to see others that are quick to make as well. We can find plenty of marigold in the gardens here and in the fields to the west. Nettle is all over the place, but you'll find very dense patches northwest of the guard leaning against the wall here. We'll need to craft between 20 to 30 potions to reach level 16, since strong potions give 132 XP each. For marigold decoction, we start with a water base, toss the nettle in directly to the pot, lower the cauldron, grab 2 handfuls of marigold and grind them up. Put the mixture into the dish in the middle, raise the cauldron back up, put the dish mixture into the cauldron, grab the phial and pour out the potion. If your timing is good, you should be able to craft this in just over 60 seconds from start to finish. If your starting options in the prologue are Envoy and Scholarship, you can go to the Scribe's Room in Troskowitz to read the book and hit level 8 Scholarship. Take Wonders of Nature for an extra 20% boost to Alchemy, and you'll need even less potions to craft to get to 16. Craftsmanship skill is similar to Alchemy in that it allows for more mistakes when crafting items and still getting good results. It also makes sharpening blades faster on the grindstone and allows us to repair more advanced gear on our own with repair kits. It also uses less of the repair kits when fixing items, so they last longer. There are only 4 ways to increase this skill, not including training and skill books, and they're all decent, so we'll cover one extra with this skill. We gain roughly 150 XP for each item that we craft, regardless of the type of item, so if you're going this route, spam Farmer's Horseshoes for the cheapest way to level up. We can sharpen or dull weapons on the grindstone for XP, and the amount is tied to how much repair is needed and the cost of the item. For the most expensive sword or axe, dull the blade, then sharpen it back up to max durability. The worst axe I could find will grant 37 XP for going from 0 to 100 durability, while a 430 groschen sword will give 111 XP. Another way to gain XP is by washing clothes with soap at a laundry spot. This gives 10 XP for each time that we wash at least one thing, but does not grant more for washing more things at once. The best way to maximize this is to wash one item at a time and repeat until everything is washed. A set of 10 dirty items will yield 100 XP and take only a few seconds per item. And finally, we get XP by repairing our own gear using repair kits. The XP values are all over the place, and it's hard to find the pattern here, but the best way is to buy or steal all types of repair kits and repair any gear that you loot from combat. It's not hard to amass hundreds of pieces of armor, clothing, and weapons in a short time, and you can easily max the skill out. There's also a perk that gives XP when you're paying for repairs, but I find stealing or buying the repair kits to be just as effective. The drinking skill decreases the effect alcohol has on us, making it harder to get drunk while also reducing hangovers if we do get drunk. It also makes it harder to get addicted to alcohol. There's only one way to level the skill, and that's by drinking alcohol. The XP amount is tied to the alcohol percentage of the drink. A 5% beer will give 12 XP per drink, while the strongest schnapps at 20% will give 50 XP. If you're trying to max out drinking quickly, you'll want a few potions to help. Digestive potion to reduce hunger, hair of the dog to reduce drunkenness, and whichever alcohol you can get your hands on. My personal preference is to stock up on schnapps since it's the fastest, but any alcohol will work just fine. Start by drinking as much alcohol as you can, up to 150% nutrition. Then drink digestive potions to reduce it back down close to 0%. Then drink your way back up to 150% and repeat. If you're drinking lots of alcohol, you'll eventually become addicted, which comes with a hefty -10 main stats penalty. You can get rid of this temporarily with the Henry Tier Hair of the Dog potion. Keep drinking these until the alcoholism effects wear off in a few weeks. The horsemanship skill allows our horse to use less stamina when sprinting, makes our horse less likely to buck us off, and make it harder for enemies to pull us off the saddle. There's only two ways to level this skill: riding around the map and getting kills while mounted. Riding around is quite slow, although you'll be naturally doing this for quests anyways. If you want to level it quicker, grab a sword or a polearm and stab cows as you ride by, netting 30 XP each. In the time it takes you to get 80 XP for riding from Troskowitz to Samin, you could have killed 4 cows and gotten nearly double the XP along with all the other combat XP you would have normally gotten. The Houndmaster skill increases the obedience and slows the obedience decay of our mutt, making him stronger in combat and allows him to hunt longer. This skill should be leveled in 2 phases. Early game, when you're low level, focus on feeding and praising mutt. Each time we feed him, we'll get 47 XP, and praising him will give 36 XP. If you repeat these actions within 30 seconds, you'll get half the XP. So praise and feed 1 to 3 times each, then wait for an hour or less and repeat. Once you have a few levels on Mutt, you should transition to letting him get last hits on bandits or peasants. Each kill Mutt gets gives a massive 391 XP. You can help by getting the target low on HP, then backing off and letting Mutt finish the job. In order to give Mutt the attack command, crouch and look at your enemy, then hold X. Scholarship is one of the least useful skills in the game. Higher levels allow us to study skill books faster. That's literally it. A higher scholarship can also help with chat checks, but so can literally every other skill as well. This one is easy to level up. We get XP for each piece of literature that we read. Most books, maps, alchemy recipes, and letters will give 24 scholarship XP. Be aware that blacksmithing sketches do not give XP here. Reading skill books grants more, around 100 for level 1, 150 for level 2, and so on. You can also get a tiny bit of XP by learning about the world through chat, but it's around 6 XP per new thing learned and hardly worth mentioning. Focus on acquiring anything with writing on it and reading any books on pedestals. The stealth skill is one of the most useful skills in the game and acts just like a good set of clothing. It makes you quieter, harder to spot, and detect. It also makes encounters easier to evade when you're fast traveling. There are several ways to level stealth, but let's cover only the top 3 here. Ranged combat while in stealth grants a decent amount of XP per kill at 20 XP. If you're already taking a shot, you might as well duck down as it doesn't have any negative side effects. You can also choke people out to get 37 XP per person. You can either find people who are isolated on the road or working in a field and choke them out, or wait until everybody goes to sleep and choke them out in their home. Finally, the best way to level up stealth is to sneak around near enemies without getting spotted. Any bandit camp, road encounter, or aggroed civilian or guard will work just fine. Crouch in the area and just continuously be moving to rack up massive amounts of XP, upwards of 60 XP for every 10 seconds that you're moving. The survival skill determines how easy it is to hunt animals and how much meat we get from butchering them. It also helps collecting herbs easier by increasing the gather radius. There are quite a few ways to gain survival XP, but only a few are efficient. Collecting herbs is actually one of the worst ways. It only gives 5 XP every time we bend over to pick up, and then another 0.5 XP per herb that's dried on a drying rack. One of the best ways is through hunting big game or smoking any kind of meat. Hunting stag or boar will generally give the most XP, around 80 XP for the kill and another 32 for butchering it. Depending on how much meat is harvested, you'll also get another 3 XP per meat that is smoked, 1 XP per meat that's cooked, and only half an XP per meat that is dried. It's not unreasonable to get over 50 meat for a big animal, which means well over 200 XP for a single animal for shooting, butchering, and then smoking its meat. Cows and sheep don't give much for killing and butchering, but the meat can still be smoked for a massive amount of XP, so don't sleep on this in the early game. One of my favorite skills, Thievery, is responsible for how effective we are at the theft minigames, pickpocketing, and lockpicking. Pickpocketing will be faster in all aspects, and items will be revealed without having to hover over them first. For lockpicking, the sweet spot will be larger, and the wobble of our pick will be much less, making it easier to keep the pick in the sweet spot. There are only 2 good ways to level Thievery, lockpicking and pickpocketing. Lockpicking is slower, but seems to grant XP based on your level relative to the lock skill. I've gotten 57 and 59 XP for unlocking a medium lock at lower levels, but only 48 XP for unlocking a very hard lock at much higher levels of Thievery. In the early game, it can be good to go to any town at night, unlock as many doors and chests as you can find. If you're worried about being caught for Thievery, just don't take anything from the chests. You can't get in trouble for lockpicking doors and chests as long as you don't get caught in the act. However, the fastest way to level this skill is through pickpocketing. You earn 30 XP for successfully taking any item from somebody, plus some multiple of the value of the most expensive item that you took. This means it's best to steal a single item at a time to maximize the XP gain. Most peasants don't have good loot on them, so it's best to save up high value items, find an isolated worker, and knock them out. Take all their stuff and then put back 2 to 3 expensive items into their inventory. Back off and wait for a few hours for them to wake up and return back to work. You can then pickpocket the expensive items from them for huge XP. You get 130 XP for a 509 groschen item and 107 XP for a 125 groschen item. So try to get as many items worth around the 100 groschen mark or more as you can. You can also do this with bandits if you don't want to knock out innocent peasants. Warfare skill determines how fast our attacks will be and how difficult it will be for our enemies to block or dodge our attacks. If you're ever wondering why people are blocking all of your attacks, it's likely because your enemy has a higher warfare skill than you. The skill levels up along with all your other combat skills and cannot be farmed separately. In order to reach max level 30, you have to max out all of your other combat skills. However, it does go up quickly to a decently high level even with only 1 or maybe 2 combat skills level up to max. For the best way to level up warfare, choose your preferred fighting style and see the next few sections for how to level up those quickest. The next section will lump 3 melee weapon skills together since they all level up identically. Leveling up any weapon skill will make your attacks using that weapon faster, hit for more damage, and make it harder for enemies to block or dodge. We can gain XP through combat. 3 XP is granted for each attack and block executed, and an additional 20 XP per kill or knockout. This includes clinching where up to 3 hits are possible. There are 2 ways to level up these skills quickly. The normal way is through combat against bandits, which can be found along roads or at bandit camps. If you're trying to maximize XP, use the worst weapon you can to extend the number of hits you need to down somebody first. However, my preferred method is riding around the map and looking for sheep and cows. You can clear an entire flock in seconds and you get the same XP for a kill on a farm animal. If you're working on sword or polearm, you can even remain mounted to speed things up and level up horsemanship at the same time. Farm animals respawn quicker than bandits as well and give off meat for survival XP if you're going for that too. Unarmed has the same description as other weapon categories, but differs in the way that we farm XP for it. It can be challenging to wipe out farm animals with your bare hands, so I recommend competing in unarmed tournaments in the early game and taking out bandits unarmed for the middle and late stages. Miller Crazel in the south is the best place for these competitions in the early game, and in the Kuttenberg region over by the Hole in the Wall Tavern. The XP is the same as weapons. You get 3 XP per every hit that's landed and 20 XP for a knockout. But you also get a bonus for winning tournaments, between 50 and 60 XP. Unarmed combat is a bit counterintuitive. It's actually easier to win fights against enemies that are using weapons than it is against other unarmed enemies. You can't clinch with somebody if they have a weapon, and they also can't master strike you. So the strategy here is to run at people as close as you can, which forces them to attack you. Dodge the attack and continue to press forward. Each attack drains their stamina, so after 3 to 4 swings, you can start punching them and doing meaningful damage, since they'll be near 0 stamina. The attacks are easy to dodge since you're forcing them to attack you, and you should have no problem defeating groups of bandits this way. The Marksmanship skill is responsible for how steady our hand is while aiming. At lower levels, it can be hard to aim due to how wobbly our hand is, but at higher levels, it barely moves at all. There are many more ways to level up Marksmanship when compared to the other melee skills. We get the same 3 XP per hit on an enemy and 20 XP for a kill, so feel free to shoot farm animals to level this skill up. However, that's not the fastest way. Archery competitions are, and specifically the ones in the Trotsky region, with traditional archery targets. We get XP for each shot that hits a target and a small bonus for finishing the competition. On the lower end, I've gotten 45 XP for a beginner's tournament and upwards of 200 XP for the experts competitions. The key to winning higher level competition is to use a lower tier bow. The worse, the better. These crappy bows can be shot much faster than the high tier war bows, making it easy to secure the first to finish bonus. And finally, there's an even faster way to level up Marksmanship, and it involves shooting these archery competition targets on your own, but from a greater distance. I found the best one to be west of Takov, the Huntsman's Son's archery competition range. From my testing, you get 0 XP for shooting at point blank, 6 XP from shooting from close range, and it goes up by about 8 XP for every 3 seconds of walking distance you have away from the target. I was able to get reliable hits at a very far distance, which was giving 50 XP per shot. I could easily get one shot off every 2 to 3 seconds, which is a massive amount of XP gain. Make sure you find a distance that you can comfortably hit every time, since missing the target gives 0 XP and is lost efficiency. Also be aware, only archery competition targets grant XP, so random targets that you find scattered around the map do not give you XP when you shoot them. I'm curious to hear what your least favorite skill to level up is. Aside from the obvious speech, my least favorite is whichever weapon I'm not primarily using. It's so hard to level them up fast without slaughtering all the farm animals in Bohemia. If you want to see more KCD2 content, click the playlist on the screen. A huge shout out to all the YouTube members and Patreon supporters who help support this channel financially. We originally rushed this video out to satisfy a sponsorship, but they pulled out at the last minute, so your financial support helps lessen our reliance on companies like that. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.